organised this rally, I think, not expecting that many people to turn up.
No, it was very difficult to get people. We wanted people to register, so we had an idea of numbers to tell the Met of how big a space we'd need, and people were a bit nervous about registering, thinking that they were going to be on some database somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
So we were trying to gather well, hold on, 25% seem to be registering, so we think we're going to be around 40-odd thousand, which we think we had over that now.
Amazing. And actually, it does seem to be really cutting through with the public. We've got a petition now calling for a general election on the back of this controversy. Let's just put to you what the Prime Minister has said about this, and you can perhaps clarify whether you think he's telling the truth or not. He said, for a typical case, which is parents with a farm they want to pass on to one of their children, by the time you've taken into account not only the exemption for the farm property itself, but also the exemption for spouse to spouse and then parent to child, it's £3 million before any inheritance tax will be payable.
The Labour Party is currently in complete disarray. Angela Rayner faced harsh criticism from the opposition. The recent budget crumbled dramatically, akin to a delicate cup shattering into pieces, igniting the anger of farmers who, like a volcano on the verge of eruption, are not going to remain passive. They are already heading to London on their powerful tractors, armed with tools, prepared to instill fear in everyone. Meanwhile, despite her efforts to rally support, Rayner was mercilessly outmatched by Conservative Party members, who were clearly intent on delivering a severe blow, like predators eager for a hunt.
This government is doing it to the British people. High tax, high inflation, low growth, low reform. There's a word for that, Mr. Speaker. It's Starmerism.
Where have all the promises that Starmer and his team made to win votes disappeared to? It's just empty talk, isn't it? Deceit and manipulation. Now, this man's integrity is under scrutiny, and farmers across the country are reeling from his betrayal. It's not merely a disappointment, it's a deep wound. A total failure, my friend, an utter disaster. How can one betray those who labour for the entire nation like this?
Yesterday, like many honourable members on this side of the House, I spoke to farmers from across the United Kingdom. Some of them families who farmed their land for centuries, elderly men in tears, children worried about their parents, all of them worried that their way of life is about to be destroyed. What would the Right Honourable Lady like to say to them?
Oh, I see you're already aware of the latest news. Starmer has turned his attention to our farmlands, the essential backbone of our food supply. And what's he doing? This year, he introduced taxes on farmers that they were completely unaware of, all thanks to his so-called brilliant budget. How cynical. This is how Labour chooses to show their appreciation for those who truly nourish the nation rather than supporting them.
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, we are absolutely committed to our British farmers, and that's why we've committed £5 billion to the farming budget over the next 2 years. That's the largest ever amount for sustainable food production in the.
How can a farmer who is already facing challenges simply reduce the value of his farmland by 20% when it involves millions of dollars? These lands are more than just plots. They represent a legacy handed down from ancestors, filled with the hard work and hope of generations. In the past, farmers were able to operate without the burden of excessive taxes and bureaucratic obstacles. But now, Starmer and his team have chosen to impose these burdens. How do they plan to justify this?
His party couldn't even get the money out the door for farmers, failing to spend over £300 million on farming budgets. The farmers know they ruined it for them, and that's why we're in government and they're not.
What is their strategy for pulling the country out of this crisis? Offering farmers a few scraps after taking away everything they worked hard for? That's nothing short of arrogance. Let's be honest. Is this really Starmer's grand vision for the nation? Seizing funds without hesitation and tossing crumbs to the people as if it were charity? This isn't just a mistake. It's blatant theft happening right before our eyes. And it's clear to see, even if they manage to keep their promises, which seems unlikely given their history of empty rhetoric. It's still shocking, though sadly not surprising. We cannot stand by and accept this injustice. Farmers deserve respect and support, not humiliation and neglect.
Well, perhaps the Right Honourable Lady thinks that everyone came to London yesterday to thank the government. Let's look at the facts. A typical mid-sized 360-acre family farm in the constituency of my Right Honourable friend for Thirsk and Moulton. They've spoken to their accountant. Their new liability because of this government is £500,000. That's 12 years' worth of profit. When this generation passes away, that farm will become totally unviable, and it's just one of thousands and thousands of similar farms.
From the start, all we've heard is your constant complaining about how the Conservatives have ruined everything. It's becoming repetitive and frustrating. Let me be clear. People are fed up with empty rhetoric and inaction. They want concrete answers, and they want them now. You're in power, so stop playing games and hiding behind your words. Face the reality, quit dodging the issue, because things won't improve on their own. People are looking for action, not just talk.
No, and he got in with a very low proportion of the vote. He got in by default because people were unhappy with the Conservatives. They voted Labour. They didn't particularly like him. And now it's gone from bad to worse. He's been caught accepting donations to pay for his wife's dresses. He's been accepting more freebies than any other MP in Parliament. But meanwhile, because of their disastrous economic policies, they are cutting payments to old people, just as energy prices are going up here in the UK. So it's a disastrous start for his government because they came in with no ideas about what they were going to do, apart from saying the Conservatives are evil. That was their only policy.
Absolutely, the Tories have failed spectacularly, and that's undeniable. Even they can't argue against it. Is that the reason you have the chance to aim for greater success? It shouldn't be just about surpassing them, while still being among the worst of the failures. You should be aiming for genuine achievement, not settling for a dismal comparison with those who have already failed.
Thousands of farmers are, as we speak, closing in on Westminster to vent their fury over changes to make them start paying inheritance tax on properties worth over £1 million.
And they're going to be joined by one very high-profile farmer, Jeremy Clarkson. He's leaving diddly squats to make his way to Westminster, despite the fact his doctor apparently told him not to do it.
After his heart surgery, he's been told to leave it, but he's gone.
He says the government wants to cleanse the countryside of farmers, and he feels so impassioned about it.
12 long years of suffering, loss, and shattered hopes have been cruelly inflicted upon us by the Labour government under Starmer's leadership. Hypocrisy? Absolutely. This is a heartfelt outcry. Stupidity? It's truly intolerable. Perhaps Alex Burghardt is onto something. Starmer genuinely believes that thousands of farmers revving their tractors and trucks are heading to Westminster in order to wait their turn with smiles of joy. Are they off to a celebration? You must be joking. They're not carrying pom-poms. They're armed with pitchforks, ready to fight for their rights and reclaim what has been taken from them. This isn't merely a protest. It's a desperate plea for help, a struggle for survival.
And this inheritance tax hike on farmers, how's it going to impact you?
Well, it's terrible news, to be honest, because without sounding flippant, £1 million of farmland these days, it's 100 acres. You can't. People who have 100 acres have a full-time job. So anything over that, the add on 20%, and also we forget the capital gains tax as well on top of that, as well as high interest rates to borrow against that. It's unviable. It's not possible. I mean, I'm a seventh generation farmer on this farm I'm at. We've been here since 1703, and we hand it down. It's what we do. We're not sitting on this huge asset to be able to then sell it to live the life of Riley. We're doing this to produce food that keeps you alive. I mean, I don't know how hard that is to understand for people in Westminster.
Let's establish an important fact. The majority of those targeted by Labour's ridiculous proposals are not affluent mansion owners or tax dodgers. Instead, they are the true heroes of our era, farmers who have lovingly and diligently tended to their land for generations, cultivating the hundreds of acres passed down from their forebears. These individuals have devoted their entire lives to agriculture, serving as the backbone of our nation and the cornerstone of the United Kingdom. Their hard work and commitment deserve respect and support, not criticism.
But we're producing something that we don't have to be rely on from another country. We're doing it ourselves. I mean, we learned from the energy crisis, don't rely on other countries to supply necessities to keep us going. And this is food we're talking about. People need us. I mean, it's the same old story, and I hate repeating it. You know, it's, oh, you need farmer 3 times a day. Well, it's true. Nobody needs anybody more in the UK than we need a farmer. Like, I don't know how hard it is for people to commute that. I mean, are they making these decisions while they're sitting, tucking into their porridge in the morning or their sandwiches for lunch? I don't understand. They're killing the hand that feeds them, literally.
Let's take an honest look at this dire situation. The individuals who nourish our nation may soon be on the verge of survival. This isn't just rhetoric, it's the harsh reality for many farmers who are being compelled to shut down their family farms due to their inability to sustain them. How unjust is that? And who is responsible for this? It's the folks at Downing Street who devise new schemes daily to mislead us everyday citizens. What are your thoughts on this video? Feel free to share in the comments. So yeah,